Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the PSGL YouTube channel. It is time for round 11 of the F7 Championship here at Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix. And yeah, we're into the early parts of qualifying. Bright sunshine above this very atmospheric racetrack. Hopefully you're getting the game audio, because on mine end doesn't seem to be coming out, which is a little bit strange. Hopefully it's not too much of an issue. Let's just have a look then at the tyres. So a lot of drivers, as usual, going out for an early cycle lap on the medium compound tyre. This is one of a few tracks on the game where actually you've got a bit of strategy option. More often than not, it would be a normal one-stop, easy one-stop, soft to medium. But around this track, the tyre wear is quite high, so you do have the option to do a two-stop strategy, and it can work around here. So we'll be interested to see what certain drivers do. Obviously, if you start on mediums, you've got a pretty good opportunity to do the one-stopper, whereas starting on softs in the top 10 might be a bit more of a challenge. Let's follow Void Beam, who is on a lap coming towards turn 1, then clips the apex nicely, and then joins it up into turns 2 and 3. Just looking to keep a good minimum apex speed, then onto the next DRS straight. Void Beam is one of the reserves, so this tier we've got a few reserves stepping in tonight, and we've already got a grid penalty, in fact, for Trust Radia, one of the other reserves, who's hit the back of Harmon. So I'm not sure what went off there. That was between two Aston Martins as well, so two teammates colliding in qualifying there. We haven't got as many cars as I'd like to see, but nevertheless should still be in for a pretty decent race around this track. Although that is way wide from Void Beam, and that I'll be a little bit surprised. I'm surprised that's not in validation, to be honest with you, but on he continues into the stadium section now, turns 13. And then quickly through 14, this kink here is counts as 15, but it's not really a corner. And then through 16, and on the power, just easing the power on through 17, and Void Beam will go up into P2 on a 1:15.5, 3/10 off the early benchmark. Baz Bramer's already invalidated. I'm not too sure what's going on with the game audio noises. I can't hear anything. Let me just fiddle around quickly. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be any issue there. Okay, now that I've done that, it's a lot better. So hopefully now the game audio is coming through a bit better from my end. Hopefully it's coming through better your end as well. So I don't know why it took for me to pause it and unpause it for that to happen, but that's how it goes. Sick Boy is on a lap in the Mercedes. We'll follow him round. A quick championship update, seeing as though we're early into the stream here. SXT Ewan, or better known as before this race as Smalley, has a comprehensive championship lead and can mathematically seal the championship tonight. Should results go his way, it would take quite a lot of an advantage over Raggy and Wrench, who are still in contention, but he could seal it tonight. I think he would need to get 9 or 10 points more than both those other two drivers, though, and with the fact we've only got 13 drivers, you'd say that's pretty unlikely. And it looks like Sick Boy has backed off his lap, unless I'm mistaken. Raggy is invalidated. The Architect as well. Wrench goes up to 4th. Lap time's coming in, but a lot of them set on the slower tyre. Have we got anyone else going for a potential lap? At the moment, doesn't look like it. Follow the Architect round, see what he can do. But yes, Smalley, or Ewan, as you'll now see him listed in the standings in the McLaren, has a 56-point championship lead. Second down to 4th are separated by just a point with Raggy, Leroy and Wrench, but obviously Leroy isn't racing tonight. And then the Constructors is an equally big lead for McLaren in that too, although that cannot be sealed tonight. There's still 4 races of the season to go. After tonight's race, we've still got track races at Singapore, USA, Italy and Bahrain to come. So still a few races left in this season. We've got Bramer now up into P2. On the soft tyre. Architect's backed off his lap. We'll follow one of the reserves, Trust Radio, who's already got a 5-place grid penalty, which is pretty big considering there is only 13 cars on the grid. But nevertheless, we'll see what he can do on a set of softs. This, I believe, is his PSGL debut, and that's already an invalidation, I'm afraid, so that's his lap over. I'm just trying to find a driver who's on a lap at the moment, which is quite hard to do. There seems to be many drivers out there that are on a lap, but haven't invalidated earlier on. Let's try and find... There's Mosey. Mosey's about to start a lap by current provisional pole sitter, so we'll follow him round for a lap, and hopefully we can get a full clean lap on board with a driver. Mosey currently setting a benchmark, but will want to try and go a bit quicker if he can. Into turn 1 then for Mosey. Clips the apex nicely. It's very easy to take too much curb and invalidate. That was right on the limit, and it was too much on the limit over turn 3. And he has invalidated. It's a fine line between taking enough curb to carry the speed you want, but then also not invalidating at the same time. So we've failed with Mosey, so we'll try to avoid beam. And an invalidation too for the AlphaTauri driver. Not many drivers getting a clean lap in here. Trying to see if Harmon's any more lucky. Nicely done for his middle part of the lap. Now coming up towards turn 7. I'm going to flick it in, and this is all about going through this quick sequence of corners. Probably the most fun part of this track to drive. Harmon has got it all wrong and has invalidated his latest attempt. Zach now coming through to start his lap in the McLaren. McLaren's one of a few teams, I believe, where we've got both full-time drivers in the car tonight. Red Bull as well, with Monty and Wrench. I'm looking through the rest of the grid, and I don't think any other driver has it. Raggy's not supposed to be in the Mercedes. He's meant to be in the Williams, but he didn't select his car in time, which I don't know if that's going to face any repercussions for, but it's not especially ideal. Zach coming up to the middle part towards his far sector now. Stadium section where you'll see a lot of support in real life for the Mexican driver Sergio Perez. No Mexicans in the F7 tier, unfortunately. This isn't going to be an especially quick lap time from Zach. It's a 17.6, which is good enough for P7. How's Architect doing on this latest attempt? As Mosey goes a lot quicker, a 13.9. Thought these drivers have been playing a little bit messing with me in the early part of qualifying, because these lap times don't seem particularly representative. But nevertheless, it's Mosey now who has set the benchmark. Hello to Kev, who's tuning in, one of the F7 drivers who fortunately can't be here this evening. Can Architect make it an Alfa Romeo 1-2 at the front of the grid? Yes, he can. A 14.6 for him. This is a very peculiar qualifying session so far. Don't really feel like we're seeing the best of any of these drivers up to now. Wrench is on a lap. What's he about to do? He goes third, also into the 14s now. Things just starting to heat up in this qualifying session. Monty just getting out of the driver's way. And Harmon starts another attempt. He managed to not invalidate through the first couple of corners on this occasion. So far so good. Maybe we can see a full lap with him now. Through this middle part of a lap there, through turns 9 and 10. Oh, and he's invalidated again. That one looked pretty close to the limit, but It was too close for the game's liking, and he has been penalised for it. Based on what we've seen so far in qualifying, I'm expecting a lot of corner cutting penalties and warnings during the race, because it's very difficult to get this right on the balance between carrying the speed but also keeping it within track limits. That's going to be potentially quite pivotal to race results here, as Bramer wakes his way through the middle part of a lap now, through turn 11 and the kink of 12, and now getting ready to break into turn 13. He's on a better lap, but he's invalidated. I think he's went too wide on entry, and the game penalised him for doing it. As we've got now YS Brand, one of the reserves who's making his debut tonight, goes up onto the front row of the grid on a 14.3. Who have we got on a lap? We've got Trust Radia coming through the stadium section now. Got Sick Boy just in front of him, but I don't think that's going to harm his progress. Radia up to the line he goes, and that's a 14.9, good enough for P5. Sick Boy was just starting a lap by all accounts. What about Raggy? Someone who went through an amazing sequence of results in the mid part of the season, but has just sort of slipped off the top of that form in recent times. Hasn't scored in his last 2 races after a run of 3 wins and a podium. This is the ideal opportunity for him to get back into some sort of form. Boy, he needs it if he's going to keep his championship alive going forward into the rest of the season, but that is another invalidation. Not what he needed at all. We'll go on board the Void Beam. Pretty sure I saw in the chat that there was some support for him, so we'll see how he gets on his latest effort. Down to P7 now, but plenty of opportunity to improve. This middle part of a lap, key to a good lap. How's he looking through the middle sector? He's slightly up on his time, but not by enough, you would think, to make a massive difference unless he hooks up something in this final part of the lap. Through turn 14 and 15 now. And now getting ready to put the power down onto the straight. He was P8 and he moves up to 7th. Does Void be in front of Bramer, but that's as far as he goes for now. Sick Boy has gone P6 as well. Zach, I feel like Zach must be doing something on the tyres to see how long they last, because he's been on those tyres now for 8 laps. Looks like a race run in qualifying, which is a little bit strange. I guess some of the amount of people that are here is taking the opportunity to do that. Looks like Raggy's pushing a lot more on this latest lap, but that's another invalidation. Track limits really are proving to be a pain for some of these drivers, but you've got to keep it within the lines, otherwise you will be punished. Mosey, having no such trouble, opens up a 6/10 of a second margin at the front for 1:13.7. Nicely done indeed. It's quite a strange qualifying session really. It seems we've got drivers doing completely different things. One driver I'm interested to see how they do is Ewan, because he doesn't usually qualify that well despite having the championship lead that he has. But I'm sure there's more pace in there than what he's shown already. Ewan, he's got Zach in front of him, who's probably going to give him a big tow down the straight. I don't believe that's allowed in PSGL, so potentially that stream, this footage might not put the McLarens in a particularly strong light. But nevertheless, Ewan continues on with his lap. He's found a 1/4 of a second in the first sector, which we could definitely put down to having that tow down the straight. And now through the middle part of the lap. This might be Ewan's only attempt. I don't think he's going to be able to get a second flying lap out of those soft tyres, so this really is the best he's going to manage in qualifying. And so far at least it looks pretty solid, but there are question marks about the start of a lap. But he's found 7/10 of a second. It's not looking like something that's going to put him on pole position, this, but it might put him onto the first couple of rows, potentially. He's got Bramer just in front, who may get in his way, coming into the final corner and has done. Oh dear, that was... you have to say Bramer was on an outlap, and that was a little bit clumsy from the Alpine driver. Just getting ready for his own lap and was just a little bit negligent in regards to a McLaren that was clearly on a fast lap. And he may very well get a penalty for that, and I suspect that Ewan won't be particularly impressed with that. He's retired from the session. He may drop outside the top 10 depending on what other drivers do behind him. Let's just see who's... Architect is slowing down, so let's follow Brand, who is 3 tenths up on his previous best here. Could challenge pole position if he can keep this going. Oh, this is looking really strong from a Haas driver. 4 tenths of a second up. This is going to really challenge Mosey at the front. One of our new reserves in F7 is pushing to get a pole position on debut. He's got 6 tenths of a second to make up. Has he managed to find that amount of time over the course of this lap? Comes through the final corner, a little bit twitchy on exit. That might cost him. He goes across the line. It's a 14-0. He couldn't quite find the time that he needed in full. But that's still a good effort on debut. Monte goes up to P4 here. I noticed he was on a lap as well. It's like Harmon's on a lap as well, but also it's like he's backing off. Harmon across the line. Yeah, it didn't look like he was particularly pushing for that final part of the lap. He was going for P10, and that's what he's got. Zach isn't going to trouble that. Neither's Raggy because he's invalidated. So Harmon's got the position he wanted. He will start P10, which he'll be pretty happy with. Clearly, given that I think that was a tactic of his for the final part of that lap. Who have we got on a lap who can potentially challenge for pole position? Let's go right on board with Sick Boy in the Mercedes. There was a lot of cars there off to the side of the track. Thankfully, we don't get in Sick Boy's ways. 1.5 tenths up to now. So, it continues that on. He could potentially get ahead of both Red Bulls depending how his final sector pans out. Trust Raddy has gone up to P3 in the Aston Martin, so it's a good job from him. Monte improved to 4th as well. Sick Boy across the line goes P6. I don't think anyone's touching Mosey's pole position time. He's not going to improve on it himself. Bramer goes P4 right at the depth, but he's clearly not in Ewan's good books after that collision. And Mosey is your pole position sitter, and to be honest with you, no one particularly like they were going to challenge him throughout the majority of that. My massive apologies. I completely forgot when I switched controller to unmute myself. Hopefully that solved any issues. I do massively apologise for that complete. I didn't realise how flat my controller was, and then unfortunately muted myself before the race start. But I'm back now, and yeah, basically what you'll have heard me not say, but I said before, was that my co-commentator Felix, who's usually here, who usually actually does the streaming and the lead comms, should be back next week, but he can't make tonight's race. And I was just mainly talking about strategy, really. That a one-stop may not be the quickest way around here, and those starting on mediums have a lot more options for strategy. But we've got 5 lights, and we're away here in Mexico. Looks like a really good start from Mosey. YS Brand doesn't like he got away quite as well. He's already having to slot in behind the Alfa Romeo, but you then get a good tow towards turn 1. It's a long run down to turn 1 around this track. Mosey's got the inside line, puts his car in a good place, and he should fend off YS Brand, but YS Brand continuing to fight through turns 2 and 3. Mosey pushing him slightly wide. We've got Architect going off in the background. Looks like there's some potential chaos going on further back, with Trust Radia, who starts a P3 dropping down. Who starts a P8, sorry, dropping down. But they continue to go side by side as Mosey reclaims the lead from YS Brand. That's an important move for him. Bramer further behind, pushing Monty out wide, with Sick Boy getting involved as well. Bramer up to 3rd. Sick Boy now past Monty up to 4th. The 2 McLarens making up good ground on the start as well. Find themselves in P7 and P8 respectively. Looks like Wrench has had an issue, but unfortunately has forced him to drop down. But all reasonably, it's all 13 drivers away pretty well at the start of this one, with Mosey leading away ahead of the Haas. Plenty of pushing and shoving going on in that opening part of the race, as drivers look to jostle away for position, but all in all, doesn't like too much has gone wrong, and you can always see Wrench beginning to close up to the pack, which would suggest he doesn't have any damage, which is good news. So on to lap 2 we go. And let's just see, is YS Brand going to go for a move into turn 1? No, he's not. Can only apologise for the flickering that you'll see on screen. Unfortunately, that is an issue with this spare controller I have. I was hoping that my main controller would have a bit more charge in it than it does, so it's just something that I'll have to deal with. I may switch controllers again later on in the race, but for now it is what it is, as Bramer runs a bit wide, and we've got YS Brand continuing to stick to the back of Mosey for his last part of the lap. And the top sort of, all top 10 I would say, all sticking together very well. Zach has already made a pit stop onto the soft tyres, so he potentially might have had some damage to repair. Maybe it's a strategy, I don't know. Architect getting pretty close to the back of Monty. Is he going to go for a move into turn 1? He thinks about it, but decides better of it. Monte just got to be slightly careful here. He's potentially in a situation where he may lose the advantage of the DRS off the car in front. Same for YS Brand, actually, who's beginning to lose touch with the race leader and is starting to fall into the clutches of Bramer behind. It's a shame for Zach that he made that early pit stop, because it looked to me like his strategy would have worked out pretty well otherwise. Follow these cars through the midpoint of the lap. Oh, and you can see there's a car going way off there. That looks like Void Beam going way off the track in the Alpha Tower. It looks like he's recovered, but I don't know if that was a mistake or to let somebody through, but something didn't look very right there. Bramer's already got a penalty, showing some of the problems that can happen around this track. It's so easy to pick up corner cutting warnings and penalties. Architect as Monte just about got the DRS in front of him. That's crucial for him to fend off the Alfa Romeo who was closing in under braking. Potentially a fight between the two Aston Martins, particularly if Harman continues to go that wide consistently. But Harman for now fends off the debutant reserve in the other car. I'm guessing with him being a reserve, there's unlikely to be any team orders going on at Aston Martin. Sick boy then through the middle sector. Looking ever closer to the back of Bremer. Not much to choose between his top four at the moment. They're just dropping Monte, who will definitely now struggle to keep the DRS. He might not be so fortunate on this occasion. So this is I think we're gonna stay on board with Architect here, because he's the one I think who may mount a challenge to Monte here. Yep, no DRS for the Red Bull, and here comes the Alfa Romeo. With the DRS effect and the slipstream, this is going to be a good opportunity for Architect to make that move, and there's not much Monte can do, and in fact he doesn't actually fight it too much. The Architect gets P5 on the road, and it'll be interesting to see now if he can do a bit more damage in regards to keeping up with us leading four drivers. Got Ewan just behind them as well on the medium tyres. Not working out too badly for him at the moment, just staying in the second group of cars. Medium's estimated to be around a second lap slower than the soft, so for now at least he'll be quite happy to stick behind. But of course when the tyre wear comes into effect, he may start to have an advantage over some of these drivers in front. Problem Architect has got is once you're out of a DRS zone of a car in front, it's very difficult to peg it back again. That's a problem he's finding now. Unless they start battling in front, it's going to be a difficult one to claw back. I wonder here if Bremer's lost out on DRS. Let's have a look. He has indeed, so this could be a change in position for P3. Bremer cannot defend against the Mercedes, and it's a comfortable pass into P3 for Sick Boy. Nicely done indeed. Nothing Bremer can do about that. He can't fight back. Monte has re-overtaken Architect for P5 as well, so that hasn't lasted too long, and you can see the McLaren just hovering menacingly behind. Maybe the medium tyres starting to come into their own a bit. So we hit lap 6 of 36 here in Mexico. Bremer's got another 3 seconds of penalties. He's already on 6 seconds worth of penalties, and we're only on lap 6. So this is a problem he's got, is that he's just collecting penalties so easily. Oh, and he nearly went into the back of a Mercedes under braking into turn 13. Sorry, turn 12 I believe that was, pardon. And yeah, that's a huge near miss for the Alpine driver, and he's lost a bit of time as a result. Going to keep on board with this battle behind now. This could be the one to watch. Architect, is he close enough to mount a challenge? Not sure that he is. Nope, has to slot in behind with Ewan and Void Beam just waiting in the background. Top two, you can see they're just really pulling out this lead now. We've got yellow flag in sectors 1 and 2. What's that all about? Is that Zach? Oh, we got Void Beam. Void Beam's going slowly, and is that some wing damage I see? I'm not too sure on the AlphaTauri. Difficult to see from an angle if I get a better angle. But it's like he's letting drivers through, so yeah, it looks to me like there might be a bit of wing damage on the AlphaTauri. He may need to pit. No Void Beam wanted on his debut. I know there was a lot of support for him in the chat. So, not what he wanted, unfortunately. Didn't quite saw what happened there. Oh, we've got Bremer. Oh, Bremer's had a spin around the final corner. I thought he pitted. But no, Bremer's gone for a spin around the final corner, and to couple with all his penalties, he's now found himself pretty much last on the road as well. Void Beam, not too sure what's going on here. It looks like he's actually okay. I didn't think his front wing was damaged, but just the speed he was going at and the understeer it looked like he had, I assumed he did. Bremer's struggling to find traction again after that spin. Just struggling to get things back going again. I don't know what on earth's going on between the leading group of cars, but these two are just pulling away hand over fist from the rest of the field. Mosey comfortably leading, YS Brand up front. Yellow flag in sectors 2 and 3. That's Bremer again. Is he? Yeah, he's definitely got wing damage this time. You can see the end plate on the front right is completely gone, so he will need to come into the pits. So we've got Architect making a move past Monte to take P4. Ewan's still waiting in the background, but he's starting to lose touch as Void Beam goes past Harmon, and it looks like Trust Radio may have got past Wrench as well. The sort of groups are being formed here in this race, and we've got Bremer retiring in the pit lane, so he's decided enough is enough. We've got our first retirement of the day as we've got Wrench retaking Radia, so that was a very quick change in position, to and froing there between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin. Wrench back up to 8th place, Radia down to 9. Sick Boy pits then. We've also got Architect in the pits as well. We're entering that pit stop window now on lap number crossover between lap 9 and 10. And we've got side-by-side action here as Void Beam looks to get past both for Wrench. Does get past Wrench and Radia, and does so, but it's all still side by side up to the following sequence of corners. You've got Harmon watching with interest as well. This may go wrong, almost 3 wide going into turn 4, but it looks like it is Void Beam who's got past Radia, still fending off Wrench, who's been pushed wide a few times now in this battle. And may lose out to Harmon as well if he's not careful. The two Aston Martins potentially working together as they go side by side. Who's going to be the bravest? Neither one of them wants to back out. This is exceptional racing for the middle sector, but Wrench holds on to the place, keeps P8 for now. These two at the front just continue to pound round. Lap 11 now, 36. Monte in the pits then. You can see a Sick Boy in front of Monte, so is Architect as well, so the undercuts worked out pretty handsomely for those two. Monte is going to slot in behind the pair of them. Just shows the effect of fresh tyres and some bit of clean air as well. And that has really paid off for those two that pitted just out 1 lap earlier for mediums. Still, you got to say credit to Wisebrand, he's staying firmly within the DRS range, and Mosey up front, and these two still almost 7 seconds clear of Ewan, who isn't really gaining much on those mediums, which you would imagine at this stage he would be. Harmon now picks up a penalty as well. These two continue on for another lap. They're very comfortable at the moment on these tyres that they qualified on. Let's stay with the leading pair for now to see what Weisbrand can do. Closing in but not prepared to make a move. A bit more ERS available to Mosey up front. If you want to join the PSGL leagues, you go to the Discord. There should be a link to the Discord in the description, I believe. Oh no, but basically you join the PSGL Discord, and yeah, there'll be you'll get instructions on how you can apply to race at PSGL through there. You won't necessarily be in this league. It all depends on these issues and the pace that you have. Got a change for position for P7. Architect has made the move on Monte. As Ewan now picks up a penalty, our championship leader has become the latest to fall foul of track limits here at Mexico. And to be fair, again, the soft tyre runner's still pulling away from him up front. The pace these two have got up front is really, really something. You've got to say credit to them, and they're running the softs so long that they can afford to do a one stop from soft to mediums, and it would work. Weisbrand continuing to close up to Mosey, but not really showing any signs of actually actively wanting to make the move. Not really using the ERS to its full extent. Just happy sitting behind him for now, because the pace they're running at is such that it wouldn't really help their race if they did start fighting. They've got a good lead over Ewan in third place on the road, and it just works out for them, but they keep pounding round. The gap to the leader, it is a 22.5 second pit lane around here, so they probably might want to pit at the end of this lap to avoid Sick Boy potentially getting an undercut on them. But other than that, they're in pretty solid shape right now to keep hold of basically the net race lead when they pit. But I would say if they definitely want to do that, they're better off pitting now. Zach has come into the pits again. Not really entirely sure what's going on with his race. And yes, we've got a pit for the lead. Mosey pits, but Weisbrand stays out. That may potentially cost him with the likes of Sick Boy and maybe Architect and Monte as well. We'll see if Sick Boy will come out. Sick Boy will be in front of Mosey when they exit the pit lane. That's going to be interesting to find out. Mosey exiting the pit lane now. It takes a while to get to speed, of course, but I think he's going to have the position still. Yes, he is. So that's worked out pretty nicely indeed for Mosey. I think for Weisbrand, he's going to have to do a pretty decent lap now just to ensure that he's still in front of Sick Boy when he comes out the pits, as Monte and Architect continue to battle behind Monte, getting that position on this occasion. The DRS super effective around here. You don't really have to fight to make these overtakes. It's just simple DRS, bit of overtaking. It's a clean move. There's not much you can do defensively to stop it. Weisbrand does indeed pit. I'm very interested to see here where he rejoins. He's going to be behind Mosey, I'm pretty certain of it. But will he be in front of Sick Boy? You can see already on this lap that Mosey's pulled out another second, I would say, to the Mercedes behind. These two drivers up front, Mosey and Weisbrand, are in a league of their own when it comes to outright pace. But will it be enough for Weisbrand to still be in provisional P2 when he comes out the pitch? Yes, it is. He's lost a bit of time to Mosey, but most importantly for him is he's still in front of Sick Boy, Monte and Architect behind him. Monte has kept hold of that place on this time around on the straight, so maybe Monte can start to put a bit of a charge up to Sick Boy. Raggy and Ewan running a completely different strategy, but truth be told, I don't think it's working out terribly well for them now in terms of getting really high up in the points. Just don't have the outright pace, it would appear, particularly of those two guys, Mosey and Weisbrand, who have just looked the class of the field so far. Be interesting to see now that Weisbrand isn't right on the back of Mosey. Has he still got that pace to put up a fight? Penalties could come into play here. As I've said before, corner cutting penalties is quite common around here. We saw loads of that times invalidated during qualifying. There you go, Void Beam's just got a penalty to back up that point. So just getting any penalty could make a huge difference. Look at the pace Mosey's got. I want to look at the fastest lap comparisons. This is what I mean. It's only a tenth quicker than Monte in fairness, but to everyone else he's got half a second advantage at least. It's painfully quick from Mosey, and he's looking incredibly difficult to stop right now. Still a battle going on here between Wrench, Void Bean and Harmon. On lap 16 here at Mexico. And look at this, down the inside goes Harmon. And Void Beam gives him a bit of a wide berth. I wonder, just with him being a reserve, if Void Beam's just keen to stay out of trouble in this one and just collect any points that he can. Can be difficult as a reserve sometimes. You don't really want to get involved with the full-time drivers as much as maybe your racing instinct tells you to, but so far at least okay for Void Beam. But look at the gap Mosey's already got to Weisbrand now, to almost 4 seconds, and he's just done another quickest lap, 69. Let's just compare that to what Weisbrand has done, 17.7. He's 8 tenths quicker on the last time around. He is absolutely charging up front. Looks to me like Raggy's just keeping pace with you, and those two on the alternate strategy. Of course, they will go on to softs probably around lap 21 or lap 22 and try and come back at some of the runners then. Soft tyres looked pretty useful on the first stint, it has to be said, so they could make up some ground, but as it stands at the moment they're going to rejoin the race, probably just in front of this gaggle of cars here, so they're going to have a lot of ground to make up. They'll probably rejoin P6 and P7 respectively, potentially, you would say right now. But the top 5 look a little bit far away at the moment, it has to be said. Soon Mosey's going to be on the back of us leading too. Pace that he is running at. Looks to me like Weisbrand has had a bit of a better lap than him this time around now. Maybe just starting to claw some of that margin back. Let's see. Still 69 to 17.7, so no improvements on their personal best lap times this time around. Sick Boy potentially starting to fall into the clutches of Monte and Architect behind, which wasn't really evident in that first stint as Wrench and Harmon do battle into turn 1, but Wrench has to concede. Cannot get past right now, but he will have DRS, I believe, down this next straight. Oh, and of course no DRS. Oh yes, there is DRS, but no, of course, because Harmon overtook Wrench before the after the detection point. Of course, Wrench didn't get DRS down that following straight, so Harmon making that work to his advantage and takes P8 on the road. There's no doubt about it, Raggy has got a pace advantage over Ewan at this point of the race. Yeah, he's now in his DRS zone after being 2 seconds behind not too long ago. We're going to go now with Mosey, who's catching up to the pair of them. And this is a problem that these two guys have got. They're running the alternate strategy, but they're nearly a pit stop behind already, so it's a lot to try and make up, even when they get those soft tyres on. And And Raggy looks like he's keen to pass you, and Ewan doesn't. I mean, I'm used to him having a lot better race pace and quali pace, but right now, I have to say the pace just isn't there in the McLaren today. In terms of penalties, I believe it's 3 seconds for everybody. Indeed, it is at the moment. So everyone you see with a penalty, a flag at the side of her name, has just a 3 seconds at a minute, but that could change later on. And you can see Mosey now right with the leading group of cars, and this is where he potentially could lose some time to Bias Brand behind, but he's got such a decent margin, I don't think it's going to make that much difference. And look at the extra grip you see he's got here. He could make a double overtake before turn 1, which would really display the dominance he's having around this track, but look how close it is. This is a perfect opportunity for Mosey to make a double overtake here. You can see they're both going side by side. They're going to catch up to the McLaren. Here we go, we could be going 3 wide here potentially into turn 1. Mosey down the inside. He's going to go for it. He's going to try and get the lead back again. You can see Raggy fighting it back, but no way through. Mosey gets the position and Raggy has to run wide. I wonder if there's been a contact there between the two of them. But Ewan gets back that place. Raggy has to slot in behind for P3. And Mosey made the double overtake that I predicted, and can now try and just drive away. He's really, so far at least, putting in a dominant display up front. And he'll be hoping now, Mosey, that these two drivers stay out for another couple of laps in order to hold up the Haas behind. Oh, but that won't happen for Ewan, because Ewan's gone round and is out of a race. That's a crash in Sector 2, and I'd be very shocked if that's not a safety car, because that's a huge accident. I didn't see. I don't know if he lost it on his own. I think that's what happened. Oh, that's super close there. Into the wall, Ewan out of the race. Try and see if there's any reaction from the driver instantly, which would give some indication as to what happened there. But no safety car, which is a little bit surprising. So we go on, but the championship leader Ewan, I mentioned if things really went his way tonight and he got a really good result, that he could win the championship here. Obviously he's not going to do that. He's out of the race. And I've said how all season long he's been Mr. Consistent. He hasn't finished lower than P5, I don't believe. And Zach has retired as well, and that is a safety car. And that looks like in a similar place to his teammate, which is a little bit weird, I have to say. Go on board with Mosey here to see if I can catch where Zach's car has gone. That looks like, yeah, it was a similar sort of place, just on the outside rather than the inside of the corner. And that's not potentially good news for Raggy. Well, Raggy now can get his pit stop out of the way and go on soft, so actually this works out quite well for the should be Williams driver, but is in a Mercedes. And indeed, we have a safety car on lap 22. In fact, we've got a lot of drivers pitted. So Mosey stayed out, but a lot of drivers taking this opportunity to stick on a fresh set of softs. Could this be where this race is won and lost for Mosey? We know he's got the pace, but on those medium tyres he may regret not just taking the free pit stop. Architect, interesting, has gone for mediums, as is Monty. Maybe they're out of fresh soft tyres, I don't know, but a bit surprised here that we've got some drivers not taking the opportunity to go on to a fresh set of soft tyres, which is what Wyas, Brand and Sick Boy have done. We're in the safety car conditions on lap 22. I'm just going to take a minute just to mute my mic quickly. I'll be back very shortly. Welcome back then. We'll go with a race leader on lap 23, Mosey, who was elected under a safety car not to come in for a pit stop. And as you can see, everyone behind him is on brand new soft or medium compound tyres. So far at least it's been a pretty dominating display from him. But this could all be about to change. And I wonder if he's just starting to regret that decision not to pit. He has a lot of confidence and faith in his own speed, but there was just as 8 laps difference in age between tyres could make all the difference, and he's got 2 drivers behind him. I mean, Raggy, it's worked out beautifully for him. He managed to make he had not pitted before the safety car came out, and he took the opportunity with the safety car caused by Zach's crash to take on the fresh soft tyres and keep that P2 that he had got prior to the safety car coming out. So he's in a really strong position now thanks to that. And the safety car is going to be in at the end of this lap, and we'll be back under green flag conditions here in Mexico. And this is where Mosey, who's had it easy up to now with the pace he's had, could find himself under significant pressure. Brand as well in P3, who has been running with Mosey for much of the race, lost out a couple of seconds due to an undercut from the Alfa Romeo driver. But we'll see now what Mosey can do as we prepare to go green flag racing once again. And that was a super late call for Mosey, and it has caused absolute chaos. Raggy has lost significant positions, was P2, he's now looking at potential P5 as we go nearly 3 wide down the straight. This could potentially go horribly wrong. Got drivers jinking this way and that. Monte up into P2, Sick Boy trying to fight him off, but Monte's got the higher ground and takes P2, which is really good on those medium tyres, but Sick Boy fights him back on the exit. Monte had to run a bit wide and loses out. Raggy back up to 4th, Brand up to 5th. We've got a late move there potentially from an Aston Martin. That's Harmon looking for a way past Architect, but can't do so on this occasion. All clean as we go back to green flag conditions, but you can see Mosey not able to pull away with that same confidence that he could earlier, and that will all come just down to those tyres. As they come down towards the stadium section then. Mosey doing a pretty solid job, it has to be said, up front. In fact, Sick Boy's the only one really who's going with him. Raggy has got past Monte up into 3rd, and Monte is about to potentially lose out to YS Brand as well, and does so. I don't think he'll be able to defend that into turn 1, but you never know. Let's see. No, YS Brand has got the move done, and Monte down to 5th. But Mosey's still keeping the lead for now, but you can see he's already used a bit more ERS in his attempts to defend against the Mercedes driver. Sick Boy does have a penalty though, so that's important to note that Mosey doesn't need to finish in front of Sick Boy here. It's potentially a few of the other guys behind who he may have to worry about. But I would expect even more so now that we'll see a few more corner cutting penalties pop up as more drivers really pushing the limits of this track, knowing that potential big points are on offer. And that's exactly what I mean. Architect, the first victim of exactly what I was talking about, picking up a penalty, currently running in P6 next to Monte, who pretty much seems to have spent most of this race battling with. Top 4 potentially pulling away a bit here. can see that gap just forming between Weissbrand and Monty. So, and Sick Boy's got a great exit here. I don't think he gets DRS yet, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Sick Boy's got superior straight line speed, better traction, and Mosey's going to find it very hard to fight this one off. Mosey isn't completely done with yet, but Sick Boy has the better line and gets into the race lead. And Mosey will definitely be regretting his decision not to pit now. He may argue, of course, that if he'd pitted, others might not have done. So hindsight is a great thing, and you have to say up until the safety car, there was no way he deserved to lose that race lead, as we've got Radia making his way past Harman further down. Just making sure that move's completed, and it is. Sick Boy now with his 3 seconds worth of penalties, I believe. Yep. Can try and start building up the gap that he needs, and he'll have to hope that Mosey can defend against the 2 drivers behind, because that might be his best opportunity to gain that margin that he's looking for. You have to say though, even on older medium tyres, Mosey's not exactly slow, as Weissbrand looks for a move on Raggy, but can't quite make it stick. Not camera angle I particularly wanted there, but he did go for the move. It was potentially on with the exit speed of the 2 cars, but couldn't make it stick. Sick Boy got the gap up to a second. Mosey did just about stay within DRS range, but won't be in a position to fight. But it will help him defend more to his advantage. Leading group still, you can see Sick Boy desperate to get that second margin. I think he should have it by the end of his lap, providing his wheel sector goes according to plan. But Mosey's, you've got to give credit to Mosey. His speed on those mediums is absolute. His speed throughout the evening has been exceptional, and he is hanging on to the clutches of that Mercedes. Harman, I didn't miss that. Harman got another penalty. I believe that's up to 9 seconds of penalties now, which in a race as close as this, due to the safety car, is going to really impact his finishing position. He's guaranteed points because he's in the top 10, but nevertheless it's not going to give him much hope of getting any higher than that unless there are DNFs or problems in front, as Raggy makes it a Mercedes 1-2, kind of. Obviously he's not meant to be in the Mercedes, so difficult to say that, but he takes P2 and makes it even 1-2 at least on the track, as Weissbrand is now going to try and take P3. Him and Mosey been together all race, but Mosey cannot defend this, and Weissbrand takes P3. And with the pace he showed earlier, you could definitely not bet against him taking a win here, because with Sick Boy's penalty, he can try and attack Raggy freely, knowing that the race wins on offer. And these 4 cars very much the class of the field. Mosey still looking at a potential podium as it stands if he can just keep the pace with these leading guys, because the gap opened up behind, led by his teammate Architect, who has got Radia right behind him. Raggy does the fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.8. Put that into context, that's only slightly quicker than what Mosey did on the medium tyres early on. That just shows how quick Mosey is. We've got a battle further down. Radia is going to take P5. And we've got Harman and Monty fighting for P7. Monty's gone backwards since the restart, probably due to the fact that he's on those medium compound tyres. But he's not stopping him, fighting away with this Aston Martin, and in turn with Void Beam. This is getting super close to P7. And it's really tight into there. Monty doing his best to defend the position, but this is going to it's going to be 3 wide here. This is not what you would advise at all. Void Beam, I think, sensibly backed out of it a little bit, and Monty keeps hold of a place, but in his attempts to defend, these guys are losing a heap of time in doing so. bad news for Sick Boys, he can't pull away from Raggy and Weissbrand, so you have to say at the moment at least it's probably between the Merc and Haas for this race win, the second Merc on the road. Because I don't think Mosey's quite got enough on those medium tyres to really challenge. But he's still up there or thereabouts. But of course Sick Boy here can potentially give the DRS to a Raggy in order for him to keep the race lead. But Raggy closing up under braking, and of course some of these drivers may only be one warning away from a penalty, and knowing that may potentially make them more inclined to make the move just in case they do slip up and pick up a 3-second penalty as well. And there you go, that's exactly what I was talking about. It's Mosey who has picked up a penalty. So after winning the race for so long and unfortunately being caught out by a safety car and not pitting at the time where he probably should have done, Mosey now has a penalty to boot as well, and that firmly makes it for me a two-way fight for this race win, as long as those two in question avoid picking up any penalties as Raggy goes wide. He had to get out of the way. Sick Boy probably defended a bit, probably broke a little bit earlier than he was expecting. Had to get out of it, and now he's right at the mercy of a Haas behind. On his debut as a reserve, could Weissbrand be looking at a potential win here? Mosey's got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane and has retired, which is, I mean, I've got to be honest, is absolutely daft. I don't know why he's done that. There was still very good points on offer despite his penalty, so I really don't understand why he's retired from session and left session unless there's some other circumstances going on. But if it's purely based on the circumstances of a race, then yeah, bit of a confusing one for me, honestly. But Mosey has decided to retire, which means we're now down to 9 drivers. And it meant with a margin that's built up between his front 3 and the rest, Sick Boy now looking pretty nailed on for a podium, you'd have to say. This overhead shot shown beautifully the twisted nature of his middle part of a lap. And Void Beam has got another penalty. I don't think that's his first either. No, he's on 9 seconds now, along with Harmon. But although Harmon decided, nope, you're not joining me on 9 seconds, I'd quite like to get another, and jumps up to 12. So we start lap 32 then. Out 2 Mercs going side by side. Raggy's going to get the lead. Weissbrand is going to get P2. Nothing that Sick Boy could really do about it. He probably didn't feel the need to defend given his penalty. Weissbrand will feel like this race is here for the taking for him. But I tell you what, if Raggy can get a win here with Ewan not classified, it does reduce that championship lead quite significantly, and potentially means we still have a fight going on, which we maybe didn't expect coming into tonight given the advantage that Ewan had. These two just begin to pull away from Sick Boy. I wonder, Sick Boy doesn't quite have a pace to live with his leading pair. These two have shown some good pace tonight, to be fair. Raggy on those mediums at the start, and Weissbrand keeping pace with the early leader Mosey, who apparently has retired due to the fact he has other commitments to go to, which goes some way to explaining the kind of random retirement in P4. Weissbrand getting ever closer to Raggy, but unable to make a move as of yet. Monte picks up a penalty, so that's one for him. Harmon comes into the pits. Guessing he's going for fastest lap, but you don't actually get an extra point for that anymore, so not overly sure about that unless he had damage, of course. Maybe just wants his name up in lights at the top of the screen, who knows. He did have a lot of penalties and was running towards the rear of the field, so I suppose in that respect, not too much to lose. They come around the stadium section to end lap 33. Still a Mercedes that leads away, but he's under by no means safe from the attack of Weissbrand behind. So I'm closing up with the effect of DRS, but he's not going to be close enough for a move into turn 1. No, he's thinks better off just biding his time, maybe saving a bit of ERS for one big push towards the end of a race. It's all about using your ERS quite tactically at this stage of a race to try and get that race win. Don't expect much help from Sick Boy to any new viewers of F7, because Raggy and him are not actually supposed to be teammates, so despite the look that they are. Weissbrand get the best run into his middle part of the lap, but he could potentially make it up on exit. Sick Boy's got another penalty, so actually now he could potentially be under threat of losing his podium here. We trust Radia only 5.5 seconds behind. If he can keep that within 6 seconds, there's every chance Sick Boy might not keep that podium just yet. So Sick Boy's definitely not got a race win to fight for here. It's all about whether he can hold on to his podium. Still, it is Weissbrand struggling to keep up to the pace, and he might come under threat from Sick Boy here, which is exactly not what he needs. He wants to fight for the race win. The last thing he wants is to be getting involved with the other Mercedes, but he's actually okay. He hasn't had to defend that position too much, so he's right there with Raggy on the penultimate lap of proceedings here. Who is going to win? Is it going to be Raggy taking his 4th win of the season after a couple of non-scores in the last few rounds, or Weissbrand on his debut here in PSGL F7 taking a shock win? That's really the question that's left to be unanswered now, as Monte and Void Beam do battle further down, and Monte has got that P6 back. He spent a lot of this back end of a race battling against drivers, defending for his life, so I think he'll be quite happy to actually be able to have attacked and passed somebody now, because he doesn't look like up to now he'd enjoyed those medium tyres at all. Only one more time for his stadium section. You get the feeling that Weissbrand is going to use this opportunity here as when he goes for this race lead, but that wasn't a particularly strong exit. Let's see how he goes at this final corner. Is he going to be close enough to mount a challenge? Yes, he is. He's straight in overtake mode, so I think he knew exactly what he was doing there, saving the overtake. But is it going to be enough? You can see that Raggy's using his overtake to defend, and I don't think Weissbrand is going to be close enough. Is he going to... Oh, late move! Weissbrand dives down the inside, but Raggy keeps the lead. There's a bit of contact there from wing to rear. And, Weissbrand, on his attempts to get on the throttle, nearly loses the rear end of the car. He is desperate to make a move on this Mercedes on the final lap of the race. Is he going to dive it up the inside? Yes, he is, but again, Raggy, very strong under braking, doesn't allow that move to happen. So, unless you're looking at maybe a non-conventional overtaking spot, Raggy here might just have done enough here to win the race win. Let's see, you can see Weissbrand is pushing so hard as Void Beam picks up another penalty. I tell you what, Weissbrand is pretty close here. He could go for a dive into the stadium section, but he doesn't do so. And now he's picked up a penalty. He went too wide on the exit of turn 12, and that has cost him. That will be that. Trust Raddy has also picked up a penalty as well, which I think will save Sick Boy's podium. But it is Raggy who takes the win here in Mexico. Weissbrand second, Sick Boy third. Architect will come home for 4th place. Void Beam, I don't think will hang on to 6th. No, Monte takes 7th. Wrench actually takes 6th. Monte 7th. Void Beam 8th. And Harmon did the fastest lap after doing another pit stop. He will finish 9th. Mosey takes 10th, but of course DNF'd from the race. So there you have it then. The end of the Mexican Grand Prix. Unfortunately, not as many drivers tonight as we would have liked, but still some decent enough battles going on. Raggy gets driver of the day. Can't really argue with it, to be honest with you. Would have given it to Mosey, but of course he didn't end up not finishing the race. I can't really give it to someone who DNF'd. So yeah, Raggy ultimately did a very good job and held off some great late pressure from a debutant to hold on to the win, and actually cuts the championship lead of Ewan's to 38 points with 4 races to go. So, you know, it's a bit more hopeful now that this championship may still be alive thanks to these results tonight. Quickly get the full classification for you. So there you are. Your confirmed results then. Sick Boy taking a fast spot on the podium. Architect 4th. Radia 5th. The 2 Red Bulls, Reg and Monte 6th and 7th. Void, Beam and Harmon complete the classified order with Mosey, Ewan, Zach and Bremer all not finishing the race. If you want some more action from PSGL, the F1 tier is currently going on now, also around Mexico. So be sure to join Luke and Co for that one. And we'll be back next week in F7 for Singapore. Hopefully myself and Felix will be there to guide you through that one. But until then, it's good night from me and catch you on the next one.